Now, I've told you about Dr. Weston A. Price, who went around the world and proved over and over again that children thrive and that no dental decay happens and their immune system is fabulous. It resists any modern day kinds of illness beautifully. And that's simply because they were eating a very nutrient-dense diet. They were not eating processed foods. So now's the question. All right, Sarah, so what are the nutrient-dense foods? Well, one of the most nutrient-dense foods are dark leafy greens. You can't get enough of those. Collard greens, kale, spinach, chard, any of those are fabulous. And even if your child doesn't like them, it's very easy to blend them into a soup. It's very easy to chop them up in little pieces and fold them into meatloaf. There's all kinds of ways of doing that. The other most nutrient-dense foods, which all of these primitive cultures always had in their diet, were organ meats. So even if they were on the ocean, they were working even the fish livers, creating fish liver oil, that's cod liver oil. But also inland, they always, the organ meats were actually more important to them than muscle meats. So there is a company, and again, in my resource section down below, if you click on that link, I've got some links to companies. There's one company that mixes ground meat, ground beef with beef heart and beef liver. But to the point where you can't really tell. I had a mother say, yeah, no, I make these hamburgers up and the kids don't even know they're eating liver and heart. And these are incredibly nutrient dense and very much associated with robust, healthy children that can resist all kinds of disease. And in this, COVID-19 panic, this is the time to really begin to think about, okay, well, what am I feeding my children and myself? And can I up the game here around nutrient-dense foods? So the other foods that are incredibly nutrient-dense are your root vegetables. So carrots and beets and rutabagas and turnips. And these, again, are foods that many of us have not been raised with, but start messing around with them. You can go on YouTube and find endless ideas on what to do with them, but they're actually quite delicious and full of nutrients. Now, most of these primitive cultures also had nuts and seeds, and they are associated, nuts and seeds are associated with robust health, but you want raw nuts and seeds and always organic, gang. We've got way too much Roundup in our society, and Roundup is actually not a pesticide, it's an antibiotic, meaning that it will distress your gut flora. And your gut flora is the center of the universe as far as how your body functions. And the 80% of your immune system is in your gut. So that's a whole nother topic. So I'm going to give you some resources. Click on the link below to my resource center there. And I've got resources on how to get good quality free-range meats and organ meats. And some resources as far as you want organic. You can have organic frozen vegetables if you want. If you grow your own, that's the best. If you can find local farmers, that's the best. And again, in my resource center, I've got ways on how you source, how you find your local farmers, which is what we all need to do now. We all need to support our local farmers. So those are your nutrient-dense foods. That's the beginning of moving those in and crowding out all the processed foods. So keep adding and then subtracting. You can do this, and it's going to make your life, honest to goodness, it's one of those deals where the hard way is the easy way in many ways. So when you begin to readapt and change the foods, I've just heard it over and over and over again from mothers. It's like, oh, God, thank you so much. My kids, they just sit down, they eat, they enjoy their food, and they're not hungry all day long. Well, the reason they're not hungry all day long is because the food is actually nurturing them. So I'm going to have another session on another nutrient-dense food, which is your meat and bone broth. But that's coming up. See ya.